Hey everyone, today we're going to dive into the Trig page. Now, I've talked a little bit about Trigs throughout this video series so far, but I just want to have a dedicated video to talk about the different functions in this page just to make sure I cover everything. So I'm going to use the same patch that I've been using. This is our kind of bassy, funky sound that we've made. Basically, the Trig page is setting your sound up that you've created using your source, filter, and amp pages. Now you're setting it up to program in some type of sequence. So when you go to record mode and when you enter in things, it's going to be containing, these trigs are going to contain the data that was set on your Trig page. That way you don't have to go in and enter each trig separately. It works great, especially for things like a kick drum, which you don't necessarily need to enter in different values for. You can always adjust any of these values, and you can do that either as a whole group by just adjusting the values on the trig page, or for a specific step in the sequence by doing a trig lock. I explained a little bit of those earlier, but I'll go over them again in this video. Let's first go through what all the parameters are. The first one is just the note value. Then we have the velocity, which is essentially how hard a note is being played. So like on a keyboard, it would be playing the note softly or playing it really hard. This could be kind of translated to volume, but it's a little bit different. But just make sure that your velocity and volumes are all kind of matched up. Your trig length, I briefly talked about in the last video, but that is how long your note is going to ring out when it's being played by the sequencer. Notice how it doesn't have any effect when I'm playing it with my finger, but when we program it into the sequencer, it will. When you're playing in typical 4/4 time with a scale of 1 from the scale menu, as we've talked about previously, then 1 on the length will match up with 1/16, and it even says it right below the knob on the screen. That means that it'll be one step in the sequence. So if I have this, actually, let's put this to 1. I'll turn my amp all the way down, and now I'll just program in a note right on the first step. Notice how it only goes 1/16 note. If I were to turn this up to 2, it would go 2 steps, 3 would be 3 steps, and so on and so forth. So if I turn it up to, say, 7, it'll go all the way here and then shut off. If you turn it up past 16 steps, it would repeat back and be re-triggered before it ever stopped. Notice how you can hear the envelope of the filter re-triggering as well, so it does change the sound. Down here, with data entry knob E and F, those tell us whether or not we want the filter or the LFO to be triggered. So if I turn the filter trigger off, notice how that changes the sound. It just plays straight through. If we turn it back on, the envelope from the filter, the envelope from the filter will be triggered. Now, right now, I don't have any LFOs going, but if I did, this would control whether or not the LFOs get triggered. If you want different notes to play, as I said before, you can do trig locks. And how you do that is simply hold the note and turn the value to whatever you want. So if I hold number 5 and I turn the value up to say G, and hold number 9 and turn it down to A flat, or A sharp, B flat, and each note will have its own trig value. And if I hold this down, notice that it turns in yellow, indicating that there's a trig lock on there. Now, if I adjust the trig values now, after there are already trig locks on 5, 9, and 13, the trig locks will override whatever the trig says. So listen. Notice how as I turn this, the only note that's changing is the one that doesn't have a trig lock on, because these are locked in place and this one isn't. But values that don't have a lock, like length, can be changed. So and you can, of course, change any value listed here. And the last value up here in the upper right-hand corner are conditions. I'm going to dedicate a whole separate video to that because there's a lot to talk about. But that's the basics of the trig page. So I hope you like this video. Once again, thank you, Perfect Circuit. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.